Hello and welcome back to another Reaconteur video, and in today's video I'll be talking about the Tokyo Ghoul game on Roblox, Ghoul Re, which is currently closed community access for 1500 Robux, so it's actually a pretty decent price, especially in comparison to other CC games such as Peroxide, which sold for $120 per person. Make sure to subscribe since only about 20% of the people watching this video right now are actually subscribed. Now let's get straight into it. Now this game is a closed community game, and it really likes being a closed community game. And as usual as a CC game, it is filled with closed community bullshit, because there's so much stupid stuff in this game. First of all, you can't choose your faction. You either spawn in as a human and are forced to join the CCG, or you spawn in as a ghoul and are forced to be a ghoul. You cannot choose your faction, with the reason being, I guess, realism that the devs wanted, as CC games are often done with supposed realism, which really just, adds a bunch of stupid mechanics that don't belong in video games whatsoever, because the devs want it to be realistic. It's just kind of lame. Anyway, you either spawn in and you have words on your screen, like schizophrenic rambling voices in your head, which means you're a ghoul, or you spawn in with nothing and you're a human. The game also has imposed rules that will result in temp to permanent bans if you don't follow them, and the temporary bans are on the first offense, permanent bans are on, subsequent offenses. Ghouls aren't allowed to help CCG. CCG can't help ghouls. If a CCG kills another CCG, you become a rogue CCG, but that doesn't change anything, you just still can't help ghouls. Now, this would all be fine, but it kind of becomes problematic when you join the game with friends, because imagine you and two other friends are joining, and you're not able to actually play together because you spawn in random factions. And while you could say, oh, just wipe until you get the same one, it's not really that simple. In order to wipe, you either have to wait for an hourly event in which you can wipe, or you have to pay 300 Robux. And even then, you could just end up with the same faction again, which is what happened to me and one of my friends, because the hourly event is, like 10 minutes long, and he just got really unlucky. It's stupid. I guess you could use it to keep wiping, but it's still an hourly event, so worst case scenario, even if you're lucky, you gotta wait for that new hour, so that way you can be a part of the Delirium event and actually wipe. Now about the actual gameplay, the combat is meant to be similar to Deep Woken. Now, every time a game wants to make similar combat to Deep Woken, they are always very off with something. The dodging is actually pretty well done, and I think that the dodging in this game feels like Deep Woken's dodging, except it has, quite a bit more end lag, or less iframes, or something about it just feels weird. But also, the animations are kind of too flowy. I feel like a lot of these games try to replicate Deep Woken's style without actually replicating Deep Woken's, animation style, and that really contributes to the feel of the way the combat plays through, because it just feels both way too unprecise and way too flowy to actually match Deep Woken's combat style. Like, Deep Woken has snappy animations, but they kind of contribute to what looks more realistic because they really help the hitboxes make sense, which I'll talk about hitboxes in a bit. Anyway, the parrying and hitboxes are significantly lacking. And before anyone says the game is new so give it time to improve, shut the fuck up. What do you think this video is for? I make videos like these for games that are in CC so that way they can improve things that I don't like about them, or things that are just outright bad. And the hitboxes aren't up for debate, they're just bad. Anyway, this game's hitboxes are some of the worst I've ever seen. Just look at this clip. I don't even know what to say about this. Like, how is that hitting? And other times, specifically if you're using fists or sometimes the spear, you'll punch through someone and watch your hands clip through their face, and then somehow they don't get hit, which also happens with the katana crit for the CCG. Look, I know the game is relatively new, so there isn't much content right now, but what we don't have are Kakajas. There are no Aratas to my knowledge. I've seen sneaks on them, but I don't play that much CCG, so maybe they exist and I've just never seen them, because I mainly play Ghoul. Now, what I don't like is that the CCG is almost entirely better than Ghoul. First of all, since CCG are pretty much forced to be teammates, if you're a Ghoul, you get 3v1 most of the time. But also, the CCG are really tanky early and mid-game in comparison to Ghouls, and it feels like the higher ranked CCG have more health than Ghouls, while Ghouls just do more damage, which doesn't really make sense since Aratas don't exist and the CCG are humans, so the Aratas are supposed to be armor for them, so they, shouldn't have as much health as they do. But also, the Ghouls have basically no advantages. They don't really regen much faster, if at all. The progression is longer, and the quests give way less money. They're also harder for some reason on average, and there's basically no reason to go Ghoul right now, not even if you think it's cool, because the Kakajas aren't out yet. But of course, that is subject to change, so in the future it'll be more viable. Now, I am going to talk a little bit more about this later, and I know people are going to say, oh, but the Ghouls are stronger late game. Yeah, it doesn't really matter. I'll touch up on that in a bit. Now, the game has various events as well. The Permadeath Delirium event, which I've already touched up on a little bit. However, there's also the Birdcage event, which is just a PvP arena, like Type Souls. Now, I've seen a lot of people glazing this game without talking about the negatives of it, which is why I'm kind of making this video. The game won't improve without criticism, and there's always a lot to improve with these types of games, which is why I'm always honest whenever I make videos talking about these games. Which is why I also hate to see YouTubers who kind of just shill and sell out to these games because, oh, I'm in it for free, I might as well glaze the game, hope I get more free stuff. No! You wanna know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna take all the free shit and I'm gonna talk about your game honestly, so that way you guys can make a better game. Because I'm not gonna tell you guys to buy this game or tell you guys that the game is good if it's not, and I'm not saying this game is bad, because it's not. I've actually had quite a bit of fun with it, but I'm going to be honest so that way the game can get better. Now back to the combat and progression. First of all, the PvE is whatever. The AI in the NPCs is super dumb and annoying because once it locks onto someone, it can't change targets, meaning that if you hit an NPC enough for it to aggro on you, no matter what, it will stay locked on, which is super dumb. Because now I can't get NPCs off my friends if some random comes up to attack him, and now my friend's just getting jumped by an NPC and a guy. And the NPCs aren't exactly clear for which type they are. Well, there's two specifically, right? They all pretty much wear the same clothes, but just have different AI. There's human NPCs, which don't fight and just try and run. Human or ghoul NPCs, which I say human or ghoul because I'm not sure if it's a human or a ghoul NPC, but they'll fight you with your fists, but they don't have Kaganes or Quinkes or anything. So I'm just not sure if these are human or ghouls. Just, I don't know, put some differentiating details on them or something. Then there's the ghouls, which have Kaganes that fight, and then the CCG NPCs, which usually spawn in packs and jump you, just like the players. The progression is also painfully slow in the beginning if you start as a ghoul, because doing quests is really hard, so you just kind of have to eat NPCs until you unlock your Kagane. At which point, you need to get knocked to unlock your Kagane, kind of like a Deep Woken Bell check. Immediately, you get your first Kagane skill set, with it only changing and getting stronger once you evolve through leveling up enough. If your Kagane has an evolution, that is. Not all of them do right now. Now, if you're a ghoul, the only really easy quest that you can do early is this delivery quest at Onteku, which you can do every hour. That's pretty easy. And as a human, you first need to go to the CCG tower, and you can find all these places by pressing P, and then it'll show you map points. But for some reason, you gotta look up if you're a human, because the CCG building point is super high up. It's at the peak of the building, even though you never go to the top floor like that. But for some reason, they thought putting the point up there was a good idea, even though you can never see it if you're not looking for it and don't know that it's super high up. Anyway, as a human, you just talk to the CCG front woman at the desk, and then you join the CCG, and then you go up and get a quest and do it. The CCG quests are pretty easy, though. You kind of just need to kill NPCs or ghoul players, and they give a lot of XP and money. Then you just buy your first Quinque, which is either a spear with the most ultra super massive hitbox in the world, but you can't hit directly in front of you. So just little combat tip, if you're fighting someone with a spear, just stand inside of them. There's also a katana with the most disjointed, terrible broken hitbox in the game. The M1s are fine, but then the crit is just terrible. Oh my god, it's so bad. It is so insanely terrible. And then there's the two daggers, which are decently good and the most balanced weapon overall, so I'd actually probably recommend these. Just don't buy the katana. Just please don't buy the katana. Its crit hitbox is so terrible. And don't use fists if possible. They also suck balls and shaft. Yeah, especially shaft. Anyway, what I was saying about the CCG being better than ghouls, 90% of the time, CCG are better than ghouls. Ghouls are stronger late game at max level because of Kagane evolutions and skills, but for the most of the early game and mid game, CCG are stronger, and since you're really never going to be able to 1v1 a CCG as a ghoul anyway, it doesn't really matter that ghouls are stronger at max level, because 1, getting max level is a crazy grind, and getting there without getting wiped is a feat on its own, and 2, it's impossible to have a 1v1 on this game. Even when you're trying to have a 1v1 in this game, you'll probably just get third party by the first CCG that walks past, regardless of their level. Like, freshy CCGs will jump in just to jump you. And there are semi-infinite combos in this game, which I don't even want to get into that, but if two people are just M1 spamming you, you can't really get out of that. It's not possible if they're doing it right. And also, the ranking system is kind of weird and broken. I think it's supposed to be based on Rogue Lineage's ranking system with the top 200 stuff, where top 200 is basically unranked. Anyway, my friend was like a freshie, and then he got ranked top 50 for like 5 minutes for no reason after killing someone. And then he lost his rank entirely, and then he killed some more people and was top 200 again. I don't even know. This game's ranking system is just really weirdly done. And the game has a bunch of weird bugs caused by what seems to be amateurish modeling, because some of the Kaganes are rigged physically. Some of them have collisions for some reason, causing glitches like this.
Has to. Man, we'll never know.
That's my grip. Fuck you. Holy shit, what is happening? What the fuck? This right here. Why is this happening? You try to kill the NPC, it gets flung away because the Kaganes have collisions, which I guess they probably just weren't made with meshes, or maybe they were made with Roblox unions. I really can't tell. but it's just really annoying. So I don't have too much to say about this game. The hitboxes are definitely the biggest issue, so I think they honestly need a complete rework for most of the weapons hitboxes, and the parrying is just, it's not great. It's really not great. There's no real indicators for when your parry's on cooldown like there is in Deep Woken either, so maybe add a bar that does that, because if you misclick F, then you're just gonna get stuck. And there's no, like, venting or anything, so there's no real way to get out of combos if you get stuck like that. I mean, you could just take a hit and then parry, but I don't want to do all that because I'd rather parry the next hit. Anyway, I hope you all enjoyed this video. If I missed anything bad about the game, or if I forgot to list anything good about the game, leave it down in the comments below. Let me know what you guys like about the game if you've played it, or if you guys are going to buy the game. For all the broke little kids that are going to say 1,500 Robux is too much, no, it isn't. You just don't have a job. Anyway, make sure to subscribe and all that. I love you all. Shoutouts to Cyberboy21, Goobka, and Drizzy Drake Fan as usual. I love you all, and goodbye.